Are we ready?
Yep.
I'm ready.
Ready.
Let's do this.
Hi, I'm Jack.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are Glib. We're recording this on June 14th, 2016. That's Flag Day. A lot of stuff going on this week. We'll get to it in just a bit. But first, as always, we have the lovely, the talented, the amazing Obo Crazy. That's it. Was I supposed to say something else?
No, that's perfect.
A lot in the news this week. Of course, we're recording this after the most deadly mass shooting in American history. The attacks on the LGBT club in in Orlando. I think it was called Pulse Orlando.
It was just, the Pulse or the Pulse.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, I know it's I know there's not much more I can do but advocate for more solutions. But even while we do that, our thoughts and prayers are, in fact, with everyone affected by this. And we know people in Florida. We have friends in that area. We have people that we know and love that are affected by this, and people we know and love, and just the idea of it. I think the fact that it was a first attack of its kind, specifically targeted at the LGBT community, at least the largest one I've ever heard of.
It's the largest, but sadly, it is not the only. Sadly, the LGBT community has had to deal with personal attacks on a one-on-one or a two-on-one basis. This kind of terrorism is unfortunately new. And I will say, it's important to try to remember the victims, because we'll all remember the asshole who did this. His name will be plastered all over the news. But they are finally starting to release the names and pictures of those who were unfortunately killed in that attack. And there's a lot of people. And I think it's important to look those pages over and see these faces. And I think a lot of them actually come with links about, linking to who these people were, Facebook posts, remembrances from family. And I kind of wish there was more of that in the media than pictures and the name of the asshole who did it.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say that obviously this is terrible. This is something that is not easily presentable, because essentially, aside from the purchase of the guns, the fact that he was on an FBI watch list, this guy just had a lot of hatred in his heart, and he would have found a way to hurt people. But if you do have a stance, if there is something you believe that your leaders can do to help, then please, thoughts and prayers are great, but it's time to start hitting these people where it hurts. And for a lot of our leaders, that's their seat, that's their elected office. So I would say the right thing to do, or the most active thing you can do, is make your voice heard, and literally make your voice heard. Call your local leaders, your House representatives, your senators, write them emails, tell them what you think of the positions that they have. Tell them that they may not be representing your best interests in whatever they're doing, and use that to your advantage. Leverage that as much as it is, and maybe some progress can get made. But it's an absolutely terrible situation, and it's one of those things that I'm tired of talking about.
The mind-blowing thing to me is that I think at this point it's been 7 or 8 days, but literally 6 days before the shooting, President Obama did a town hall style meeting that I saw parts of. And one of the questions that was asked was by a guy who basically stood up and said, we're afraid that all these new gun legislations are going to take away guns from responsible gun owners, and how are you going to balance the rights of law-abiding citizens against thugs on the street. I think he used the prohibition example. Prohibition didn't get rid of alcohol, just made it illegal. And Obama had a super candid answer where he literally said, we are not allowed to do anything because every time we try to do something, the forces in Congress who side with the NRA stop us. We're not even allowed to study gun violence in the way it needs to be studied because we are banned from doing it. We've got people who, and he mentions specifically, we have people on terrorist watch lists who right now would not be allowed to get onto a plane, but are still perfectly have the right to go and buy a gun without being stopped. And it was kind of chilling to realize that 6 days before this attack happened, President Obama admitted to the country that being on a terrorist watch list will stop you from flying, but it won't stop you from buying the gun. And that's exactly what happened. What exactly this guy, there's arguments right now about all of his motives. And you know what? I think it's pretty plain that at least one of his motives was hatred towards the LGBT community.
And potentially self-loathing too. Like, he had profiles on these dating sites. He had been frequenting the club. There's some arguments to be made that he was actually casing the joint and trying to figure out, plan the attack ahead of time, but maybe he's conflicted with his own sexuality.
Well, maybe.
Perhaps.
Lauren, you were saying?
No, it's sad to think that because he was on it, basically Obama just described this exact guy. He was on an FBI watch list. If he had been prohibited from buying the guns that he did, would it have stopped his attack? Who knows? But for sure, he wouldn't have had a semi-assault rifle and been able to mow down 50 people without needing to reload. The scale of what he would have been able to do would have been so much less. And that's simply a fact.
Yeah. And it's also kind of the product of like years of anti-LGBT rhetoric on the part of that was mainstream in American society, even very recently. Whether it came from religion or basic basic mainstream society, like these violent thoughts, these angry thoughts, these dismissive, hateful thoughts have been an ugly undercurrent in our civilization for a long time. And the thing that I would say to everyone out there, and there's a lot of this angry, ugly thoughts just everywhere in society right now and everywhere in our public discourse. I would say to anyone who's surprised by this, when you put enough of that bad juju out there, enough of that bad thought, enough of that malicious intent, that sooner or later will manifest itself in violence. So, as my listeners, I would caution you to be very careful about what you put out into the world, and think about, you could either put something hateful or disgusting or gross or angry or just frustrating out there, or you can try and do something good. To that end, the GoFundMe for the victims of Pulse shooting, of their $5 million goal, they have about over 4 million raised. They could still use a little bit of help. You can definitely give blood. You can become an ally in your own area and sort of just stand up for not just them, but another maligned community. Muslim Americans who are, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're soldiers, they're people who need. I hate that I even have to say this because it should be self-evident and obvious. But
it
they
should
are
be, but
part of
there's
the
enough
main.
people out there who, both with the Muslim community and with LGBT people and with the Latinos that were at that club as well, because it was their night as well.
Sure.
Are so many people who are just out there saying no, that just because you are Muslim or gay or Latino or a person of color, that you are not a person, or that you are a terrorist, or that you are evil or a sinner.
And at the end of the day, we're all And they were doing this 100 years ago against Catholics, against Irish, against the Italians, against, Polish people and Russian people. And 200 years ago against anyone who wasn't, from a certain part of England. And it's something that American society goes through over and over again. I think it's time we grew past that and realized that, everyone, the things that draw us together are more powerful and stronger than the things and the forces that take us apart. And I'm really moved. And one of the nice, I don't want to say nice things, but one of the heartening things about seeing such a senseless tragedy is that people do come together. People are generous, and you get stories of how they're able to do something to help somebody out. And the stories here, from that come from that, were heartening. So we definitely need to push for a more sensible policy here. I think the solutions we have in place are outdated and don't work, or maybe they never worked. And we need to have a serious conversation about not just, our gun policy or immigration policy or immigration would even help. The guy was born in the U.S. Or our policies across the board about homeland security and about guns, but just about who we are and how we want to talk to each other and how we want to have discourse going forward. Because hateful thought leads to hate, leads to violence every time.
Yeah. I mean, the most recent thing has been people warning you how dangerous it would be to go into a bathroom now because there might be a trans person in there, and how that would be the worst thing ever of all time.
And I hate that the same people are sort of trying to rally them, saying, "Oh, we're big allies, we're big supporters. This is the group you need to hate." We changed our minds about our bigotry.
Yeah, because, like you were saying earlier, it's really easy to spout hateful words, and then suddenly somebody acts on your hateful words. Because here you are telling people that trans people are evil and that you can't send your children to a public bathroom because there might be a trans person in there and they're all rapists. And that's why they do that. It's simply to go into a bathroom and prey on unsuspecting people, despite the fact that that's never happened.
I loved, there was an infographic I saw of trans people convicted of sexual crimes in a bathroom. And it had like a 0 or 1 or some ridiculously low number. And then it had U.S. politicians convicted of having inappropriate, like sexual relations in a bathroom. And then it had like a wall of pictures.
Yep. Yep. But you know what? It's people who are already predisposed to that kind of hate hear people in authority say the words they want to hear, and they feel justified in going out and killing people. And that's a gross simplification of what has happened, but it is certainly something that has happened over and over and over again. And it's been the days after that shooting, especially on social media, have been horrific and crazy. And it's included the fun of, here's, of course, every senator and every congressman tweeting about their thoughts and prayers, and then someone coming along and saying, yeah, this person that tweeted their thoughts and prayers about the whole situation, they took several $millions from the NRA. And this person gave a speech about how they hate gay people, and this person with the thoughts and prayers endorsed this pastor who helped pass this law to restrict the rights of people, and it's been ridiculous.
I will say, for all the politicians that haven't taken action, bravo to my own state senator, or Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey, for introducing hate crime legislation to the floor of the United States Senate.
Yeah, I was very happy. There was, especially right after the attack, they were circulating on social media. Here's the list of congressmen and where they fall on the ban on assault weapons as far as the last vote. And yes, my congressman from Washington voted to ban assault rifles. So
my senators and representatives are shitbags.
Yeah.
And I say and that's both from Texas and Oklahoma. So fuck all of them. I mean, I vote when I can, as often as I can, and I don't vote for these assholes. And there's a force of intolerance in both states that I, as one individual, can't overcome. and unfortunately, there's not enough. I'll say it. I'll say right-minded people who want to see proper gun legislation, who want to see an air of tolerance, like just not even. Let's just forget everything else. There are laws that restrict love, that make it so that two people that love each other cannot enter a union that is beneficial to both them, the state, everything else. And it's fucked up, it's terrible, and that's the base problem. Is this age of just hate and fear, and I'm fed up with it.
Yeah.
I really am. But anyway, I think the most important thing is that we help where we can, and if that is writing letters, if that's standing up for something that you believe in, if that was even going to one of these pride parades or pride rallies after the shooting, and not being afraid and saying, you know what, I refuse to let evil win. That's what you can do, and that's awesome.
And if you can go and give blood, do it, because sadly, the community most affected by this tragedy are also the community that are not allowed to donate blood yet.
Which is insane to me. I heard the FTC was considering changing the rules so that you're like chaste or abstinent for 1 year. You could, but that's ridiculous to me. I mean, there's no medical link anymore showing that their blood is more at risk. So I don't understand why the ban endures. But that's neither here nor there. Getting down off our high horse, help out, but most importantly, just try and put some good into the world. Like, that counts. I know that the good is loud, the evil is big and noisy and captures attention, but good, it's quiet, it's prevalent, and it's in everyone's heart. So just bring that stuff out into the world and do your bit.
And if it's not in your heart, then please fuck off, deal with it in your own way, and don't hurt anyone else.
Yeah, really. Is that too much to ask? Just don't hurt anybody. Like,
yeah,
literally, that's all. We just don't want to hurt people. We just don't. It's Republicans want to be the party that is all about not having the state interfere and the government interfere in your private business unless you're in love or unless you want to kill people or buy a gun. So that's all we want. We just want people to be left alone from the government to be able to love in the privacy of their lives. And it shouldn't, I think we're far enough along in the gay marriage thing that it's been proven that gay marriage does not mean that not gay marriage is suddenly no longer valid. There are all those arguments. Oh, if they legalize the marriage between two men or two women, then it's going to just ruin marriage forever. No one's marriage has been ruined by gay marriage.
I got married after Oberfels versus Hodges, and person one, person two. I got used to it. It's fine. I'm still married.
There is not a single couple out there who got divorced, and the reason they got divorced is because there are gay people getting married.
There was that one couple in Australia, but they're crazy, so they don't count.
And they're in Australia. Doesn't count. And that was
you heard it here first, folks. Australia doesn't count.
Australia, not when it comes to the United States political process. No, it doesn't.
Screw you, Aussies.
Yes, love everybody,
especially you, Cherie.
Except the Australians. No,
I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. We love you, Emma.
I don't mean that. So yes, I would totally give blood, except I'm a wimp and I hate needles. And the last time I had blood drawn, I almost passed out, which I was super embarrassed by because that has never happened to me before.
It's been a while. I gave blood a couple of years ago. I need to get back into it, find a blood bank near me, and just get it over with. I need to do it soon, too, because I'm planning to go to India next year, and then I won't be able to for a year after that.
Yeah. Yeah, now that is a legitimate reason. If you go overseas to another country and then come back, no, you should probably have to wait a little while before giving blood. That makes a little sense. But no, yeah. I had a doctor's visit a couple weeks ago, and it was not the first time that I've had blood drawn for basic blood tests, because as you get older, they need to check your blood for shit and shit for blood. And I don't like needles, but I'm not, I would say, I'm not like phobic against needles. And the last time I had blood drawn, it went perfectly fine. Absolutely no problems. It wasn't fun, but oh well. So the guy starts to draw my blood and we're chatting, and I'm very slowly seeing the sides of my vision come in, and I'm feeling lightheaded, and I'm very calmly realizing I'm about to pass out. And so the guy finished super quick and he's like, "All right, why don't you come here and lie down?" And I was within moments of passing out. And fortunately I did not, and he got me some juice and it was all okay. But yeah, I was a wimp at the doctor's office apparently. So yeah, I'm gonna try to give blood at some point, but I will also be ready to just pass out on the floor because needles.
Well, I think we're in prime position to swap over to spoiler mode for this
Okay.
last Game of Thrones episode, the penultimate, anti-penultimate episode.
Yeah, so I say no, we got 2 more to go.
Yeah, so it's anti-penultimate. So next week it's the penultimate. That's episode 9, and then the finale is episode 10. We'll probably do a Glib Shark after the finale. I am actually going to be in Austin, so I may have to go over to a certain Carlton Tanks place and do that there. In fact, if we play Dungeons and Dragons, or if we record Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks that week, I may have to do the same thing.
Well, if I don't think we'll need to record that week, but it depends on what happens. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, that's probably good. So, listeners, if you are not joining us for Game of Thrones spoilers, thank you so much for hanging out with us, right, Jack?
Thanks, guys. You can follow me at Jack Edithil on Twitter.
Follow me at road_block.
And follow me at Obo Crazy.
All right, stay sharky, guys, and stay tuned for the Game of Thrones spoiler cast.
All right, deploying spoilers. I love saying that.
And Jenga, are you sticking around or are you taking off?
I will probably take off. You guys enjoy.
All right. And then, so next week, I mean, before we go, so we're definitely doing the show next week, and then we're going to try to do the show before RTX?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure about it, but now...
I should be good going forward, like the whole weekend of weeks of crazy family obligations if you're done. So
Yay.
I'm
But,
back.
you know, family is kind of important.
It's true. Good
And
night,
hey,
guys.
on Game of Thrones, we're going to talk all about families. Yay.
Oh, wait, let me start the timer. Okay, 20 minutes for this episode, because I think that's probably good, because I think last week's episode, it was fine, but it really, I didn't feel it went anywhere. Like, we got the Sandor Clegane is alive reveal, and everything kind of, like, kept time, as it were. Like, I don't think we really got anything new. But this episode, we actually got some progress on a couple of fronts.
Yeah, shit definitely happened. I mean, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start... I have the Wikipedia article pulled up here. The episode was No One. It's the 8th episode of Season 6, and things are starting to ramp up. Let's start with what was going on in the Riverlands with Jamie and Brienne and all of those guys.
That funness. So Edmure is an asshole. And he's a useless asshole.
Is he, though? I mean...
Yeah. Let's remember we met Edmure when he was failing to set the pyre on fire of the... God, who were they burying? And
it was the Blackfish's brother. It was...
yes.
It was
yes,
Edmure and Kat's dad.
Yeah, and so he's trying to shoot the arrow and is just failing miserably, and then the Blackfish actually comes along and sets the boat on fire, and pretty much that's been him this whole time. Like, he is the runner-up to everything, and honestly, him being pathetic is just, he's just been pathetic this whole time. I don't understand why yes, they're his men in the castle. He is rightfully their lord. But after following the Blackfish to the castle and taking it and holding it off against everybody, why would their men just immediately I can understand letting him into the castle. He's arrived. It doesn't seem to be an obvious trap, so we might as well let him on in. But when he then says lay down your arms and open up the gates so that the Lannisters can come on in, why do you say yes to that?
Because he's your lord.
Which I have a hard time believing that any of these men, that the vast majority of these men would still just like, yes, the Blackfish has taken back this castle and we've done this. And, Edmure coming along and saying that is kind of signing death warrants for most of these guys if they say yes.
Is it though? I mean, like, I got the feeling like if I don't know that anyone besides maybe the Blackfish was going to be executed, because it would be really bad for the landed lords, not just Edmure, but for all of the other, like, let's say you're a soldier in the Lannister army and you see a lord go in and order the men to their death, essentially. Let's assume that's what was going to happen. I don't think that's what was going to happen, but we'll assume for the moment that it was. If I were that guy, my faith in my lord, who works under the same system as everyone else's, would not be very high after that. Because then it's like, well, none of them care about us. And it to a point that is true, but I didn't get the impression that they were going to start just executing Tully soldiers. I think
I watched them throw their weapons and their shields onto a big pile and being marched away like prisoners.
Well, yeah, the prisoners is one thing. But like, I think that they are probably hoping that maybe other things will work out. Like maybe the Starks come down north. But the problem is that they were one rebel army surrounded by loyalists. They were surrounded by Freys. They were surrounded by Lannisters. Yes, maybe they had 2 years, but who was going to come for them? Like, the Tyrells aren't going to march north. The Starks are, as far as they know, are all but gone. So they may have seen it as okay, well, let's get this over with. At least then we're not living under siege conditions.
Maybe, but I would have liked to, if that was the case, have seen a little bit more of that discussion when he was being threatened to be killed earlier. Yes, that was kind of paltry, and everyone kind of understood that he probably wasn't going to get killed. But like, I would have liked to have seen a bit more of that, because until he shows up and says, "Open the gates and let the Lannisters in," at least I got the sense that the men were loyal to the Blackfish and that they were ready to sit this siege out and to possibly give their lives to continue to hold this castle. But I don't know. I mean, there were a lot of other things going on. I don't want to harp on that. That annoyed me, but
I am glad we got some good witty bits. We got some good Bronn and Jaime banter. We got some good Podrick banter, which was great with Bronn and Podrick.
Well, let's face it, anytime Bronn is on screen, you're getting awesome banter.
And I love Podrick is one of my favorite characters. So having Bronn and Podrick have a scene was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I loved that. So, like, Brienne tries to return an extremely rare weapon of legend. I mean, it's new, but it's still Valyrian steel, so that makes it a weapon of legend. And Jaime's just like, nah, you have it.
Okay, in fairness to Jaime, though, he can't use it.
Right,
and
but
they look at each other the same way that what's his face from the Wildling Army looks at Brienne. Like, yes, Jaime is 100%. I love my sister and I will do anything for her. But Jaime then also looks at Brienne, and I think he looks at her, and it's the wish fulfillment. It's if he has this discussion later on with Edmure about whether he's a good person or not. And Jaime doesn't argue that he's a bad person and he has made bad decisions, and that he sometimes is seen as evil, and all of that is true. He doesn't really deny anything, and he doesn't try to defend himself against everything Edmure says. Well, harsh is not necessarily false, and I think he looks at Brienne and the way she has treated him, especially recently, and has that moment of, God, if only things were a little different,
Yeah.
you know? And so why not let her continue to have the sword? Taking it back is symbolic, and then who is he really going to give it to? I don't think he can think of anybody else better suited and more honorable to wield it than him, and he can't.
Right.
So why
Yeah,
not?
and it's not like he has a buddy in the King's Guard or anything, or another close associate like with what Jorah Mormont did with Longclaw, who
Yeah.
he gave it to Jon Snow. And I thought it was funny. Like, I don't know if I covered this last week, but there was a comic that I saw, or it wasn't a comic, but it was like an image macro, and it was of Jon Snow standing there at Bear Island, and it's like that awkward moment when you try to convince someone to send their army when you're standing there with their ancestral family sword.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Valyrian steel, am I right?
Yeah.
But
Anyway, so
that
Blackfish is not coming to help
well,
Sansa.
so I mean, he died off screen, which was kind of weird for someone like the Blackfish. I thought it was funny. There was another like
There's
comical.
a lot of death off screen in this
Right.
episode, though.
Well, what I was going to say is that there was another image that I saw, and it was of the Blackfish going, "All right, I'm going to go fight them, and everything will be okay as long as I don't die off screen." And then the next image is the Blackfish died off screen.
I like that as he's going off to do this fight, and I don't remember the exact line, but he basically says, "I'm probably going to embarrass myself."
Yeah, he said, "I haven't had a proper sword fight in years. I'm probably going to make a fool of myself."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, like, I kind of like that then his death was off screen, because you know what? We didn't need to see that. He got to have his moment. He got to be honorable and help out Brienne and Podrick, and that was really all we needed. Now,
Yeah.
the fight I wanted to see, even though I knew from the beginning of the chase sequence we would never see it, was Arya and the Waif.
Right, and I think that harkens a little bit back to we're switching gears here, and yes, we'll get back to Sandor Clegane near the end, because there's
Yes.
something I want to mention about that. So we'll be coming back to the Riverlands, but in Bravos we see that Arya is heavily wounded. She ends up with the actress chick who takes her in and makes her better, and then gets killed for it by the waif, who was channeling every single Terminator ever in this. Like, I heard the music, the dun 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 dun. Like every time she turned a corner, I was like, she would like kind of walk and her head would move, and then like, yeah, all of that was very.
He totally
Terminator-esque.
Robert Patricked that up.
Like totally Robert Patrick.
Yeah.
There was someone made the comment of when Arya was falling down the stairs, they's like, "No, my cabbages," from Avatar, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's great." But it sort of harkens back, and I did not think they would go the direction the book went. But in the books, all of the Starks can warg a little bit, right? And in order to pass one of her tests, where she's kind of like stick fighting with the old man and not the waif, Arya wargs into a cat. And so she's able to beat him because she's not seeing, but she's seeing through the cat eyes. So that's how she beats him while being blind. This is sort of the same thematically, where Arya basically cheats, and which is fine because the waif was way more badass than her. But yeah, we didn't need to see that because we saw the result, and we knew what was going to happen, because Arya has been training against the waif this entire time blind, whereas the waif has not.
Yeah. Well, and in that moment where she has taken up Needle and gets rid of the candle, she's not only become Arya, she is now fighting in a way that the waif has never seen. She's now a water dancer.
Yeah.
She's using that old training that she has, and which the waif never got a chance to fight against, her sword fighting. So, yes, the waif was a better fighter in general and much more deadly, but Arya managed to make her come and fight on Arya's terms. And if unless you want to go the crazy route of, well, really Arya died, but the waif is doing weird face things with the masks, and but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I think who you saw is who you saw is who you saw. I have a hard time believing that Arya could survive all of that because holy shit. But with that being said, I am glad to see that she did, and that she, at least it seems like she has come to a truce with Jack and Hagar and won't have to worry about being chased across the world by the Faceless Men. Hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see. And now it'll be interesting to see if what she does when she goes back to Westeros. I mean, as far as she knows, still, everyone's dead.
Yeah, I mean, she really has no information. She is, in her own mind, the last Stark.
Yeah.
So, operating under that, it'll be interesting to see what her rampage is like.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But I have a feeling we will not see Arya again this season. That has concluded her story for the season, and we might not see her again.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, if we do, it won't be. It'll be like her coming ashore or something like that. We won't get
or
anything
leaving.
more.
They might do a bookend to last season where you saw her, or not last season, like 2 seasons ago or whatever, when she's on the ship leaving. We may get that same scene, except her leaving Bravos to go back to Westeros.
Right.
So
moving back to Westeros and to King's Landing, I really just, the only thing we really need to touch on, aside from the I Choose Violence, which was kind of cool, and we see the brutality of Gregor Clegane, is the whole no Clegane Bowl, apparently.
yeah.
So
I would like to know whether Tommen, how complicit Tommen is in that decision, because he obviously knows the ramifications of his decision. Like the side view that he was giving his mom, and the fact that Cersei was not allowed to go stand next to him, like, he knows what he did. So I'm curious to know, was this something that was suggested to him? Was this something that was threatened to him? Did he have any complicity in this idea? Because holy shit.
Yeah. And so I say that Clegane Bowl is unconfirmed, but that's actually not accurate. There could be other means by which Gregor Clegane and Sandor Clegane fight. And honestly, I don't see much of a point of having either character around now if they're not going to fight each other.
I don't know. I think the beginning of this episode with the I Choose Violence shows at least that the mountain has a purpose. At this point, Cersei is down to nothing.
She's boned.
She has, like, beyond the whole, she no longer can do the trial by combat. He is still her physical protector. He is the only reason that when the Faith Militant came to pick her up, I mean, they came prepared for a fight. They were not prepared for him. And
Right.
she'd be talking with the Sept right now if it wasn't for him.
Right.
He's still her best protector, because she no longer has any power in court. She no longer has any power over the people. She is as powerless as they come, and he's the only reason that she's probably not dead.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is there are, like, big picture. Yes, Gregor Clegane fills this role, but I don't see why both brothers are still around if their stories aren't going to come back together as some sort of weird thing. Anyway, but we're running out of time, and we've still got a couple of things to go over. So speaking of Sandor Clegane, that was a fantastic scene where he's basically negotiating with Thoros of Myr and Beric Dondarrion about who he's going to kill. He's like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want to kill all of them. How about you kill one? How about I kill two? Deal. Okay. You can't gut them.
No, you
That
have
whole
to
thing
hang
was
them,
great.
but that's a stupid way to die. You know?
I love there was actually someone pointed out that when Sandor met Thoros of Myr at like way back when, he said, "Thoros, the fuck you doing here?" And then when Thoros sees Sandor, he says, "Clegane, the fuck you doing here?"
Yep.
I love Thoros of Myr. He's one of my favorite characters. But I'm glad to see that the behavior of these three were not indicative of the of the Brotherhood without banners. However, I still think we might be on a vector to Lady Stoneheart. Although they did cut a line that specifically referenced her, and the actor that played Lem Lemoncloak basically performed the line. I guess it was some sort of test thing, and like posted it on his Twitter, and it was very clearly referring to a her, and she doesn't really talk much anymore, and stuff like that. Very clear Lady Stoneheart sign, but but we didn't get that, so it's possible that we may not get that at all. I still think Lady Stoneheart is in play, but we'll see.
We'll see. I am okay at this point if she doesn't show up. I feel like at this point there has to be a super good reason to introduce her, because if they made this decision not to have her last season or 2 seasons ago, and so at this point, when you were talking earlier about you don't understand having both the Cleganes still alive, what's their purpose? If the Mountain's purpose is to keep Cersei alive while she still has use to the story, I think that might be the Hound's purpose in the end, is the reveal of Lady Stoneheart, because he has been a point of view character, and if he's the one that meets her, then that's how we'll see. Because it would have been weird to just kind of jump into the band.
Sandor Clegane hasn't been a POV character. I mean, he's hung around with Arya before, but he never had any chapters. And in the books, they haven't actually revealed that he's even alive. They've implied it very lightly, but they've not actually brought it around. But anyway,
they made him a point of view character in the show. They gave him a whole episode, basically a whole episode of here's how he survived and what he's been up to. So,
which is way more than they've done in the books. Well, we've got 20 seconds left, so we'll go a little bit over. Sorry. Because we got to talk about the last bit with Marine. And
how does Daenerys show up and say nothing?
Because she's a badass. It's like being a badass and not looking at the explosion.
She shows up, she looks at everybody, and she turns around and leaves. It's like, what? Not a hi, not a hello, not the what the fuck is happening with my city, not a I've come to save you, not an anything. She is an eloquent person. She has given eloquent speeches. She has, in very few sentences, rallied armies. And in this moment, when she has appeared on her fire-breathing dragon that could be very useful against a boat armada, and she is seen for the first time this entire season by the people who worship her, and she just gives them a look and walks away. And it's like,
no, she didn't walk away. She walked in and just kind of turned around. The camera focused on her, and then that was the end of the scene. She didn't leave. She just didn't do anything. And I think that was just, I kind of agree it was a little strange, but I can kind of see how it was one of those things where the people responsible for the episode may not have felt that she needed to say anything. I did think that battle was awesome. I thought seeing the ships bombard the city was really, really cool. And I can't, like you said, I can't wait to see what a bunch of fire-breathing dragons do to those ships. And it's possible that the timeline is a little weird, but there could be an armada of Ironborn coming in behind those slavers. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a little wishy-washy on distances, so if you haven't read the books, you don't know really how far away Daenerys is from everything. But they do say that that she's got the fastest ships in the fleet, so who knows?
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, but again...
So next week, giant bastard battle?
Giant bastard battle. And apparently Sophie Turner has taken to Twitter saying this is awesome. I think she's generating hype, obviously. That's part of her job. But I'm still really, really interested because, again, this is a place we have not gotten to in the books. Although with everything kind of looping back around, like I said, Brienne running around in the Riverlands, and Jamie at River Run, and we could see a battle that was the battle that was supposed to happen, that is going to happen in the books between Stannis and Ramsay. We may see that with Jon Snow and Ramsay. So we'll see. Well, I can't wait. And
It'll be
then finale after that, which I will be in Austin for, hopefully crashing a party or two.
And
All
we
right.
will definitely talk about it at some point. But for now, no more spoilers.
No more spoilers. And for everyone who is listening to us, thank you for joining us. You all heard all our Twitters before, at Road_Block, at Obo Crazy, at Jack Edithel, and then our group Twitters, at Dungeon Drunks. We are so excited to be bringing you this live game at RTX on, let's go through the dates again. July 2nd, 7 p.m., room 16 at the beautiful Austin Convention Center. We're going to be playing some D&D. It's going to be rad.
It's gonna be a live game.
Before that, Friday, July 1st, 3:30 p.m. at the Hilton. I don't believe we have a room yet for that. We are going to be doing our Glib Shark panel. We are likely what that panel is going to look like. It's going to be us talking for about 30 minutes, just kind of doing our podcast thing. And then we're going to be bringing up the cast of Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks. We're going to have our very own Carlton Tanks. We're going to have Bernice Q. Burns live on stage taking your questions. It's going to be great. And until then, for everyone here at Glib Shark, thank you so much for spending time with us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.